welcome to another podcast of Ljubljana Talks, right here, live from IMEX 2025. And here today with Gorazd, we have Melissa Jurcan.
You got it, yeah?
There you go. You see, I had to train this one. From the state of the industry, and we're going to talk about the state of the industry. And tell us, Melissa, what are you doing at IMEX this year?
Well, thank you for having me, by the way. I'm delighted to be here. And I'm representing ILEA, which is the International Live Events Association. It was formed in 1987. There are about 2,500 members across 35 countries, and there are 30 chapters. So it's all those that plan and produce events. It's an umbrella organization, the global community for the creative event professional.
Melissa, tell us more about yourself, about your journey towards the events industry.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
You know, I always say I think I was destined for events without even really knowing it, because I have a very creative mother who is very into arts, and my father is very into sports, and we were a family that was celebrating everything. But eventually I worked in sports and opening NFL, National Football League, American football stadiums, really. At that time, it was designing stadiums that were really normally only used for football, but making them so that they could be used 365 days a year for every kind of event, even weddings, if you can believe that. And that went on to be in festivals, and then about the last 10 years in the corporate field, working on the Microsoft campus, and now I oversee events and catering on 16 campuses for Amazon in North America.
Wow, that sounds really, really interesting. There's a lot of questions
Oh yeah.
in the last 2 minutes. Tell us a little bit about, how you perceive the modern meetings industry. And I'll tell you what I mean. So we started this podcast in a time of COVID, and we were fully virtual. We did it illegally, right? When we couldn't meet, we met.
Yes.
And then there was a time where the industry was talking about, of course, the meta meetings and the virtual meetings, and we're talking about hybrid meetings even today. How do you see live meetings coming back from COVID, and where are we with live meetings right now?
Good question. If I answer on behalf of ILEA and what I experience in my day-to-day as well, I think for all of us, we can say that going through a pandemic, it radically changed us, right? We never thought that we could survive a work day with not being at work, right? Look at that. That alone was a dramatic change. But what I think for our industry that came out of it was the absolute critical, vital, and necessity of meeting live in person, because that can't be replicated. And maybe we'll talk later about technology. I'm not afraid of technology. I think technology is there to absolutely empower us, and it's to help us be more productive and to help connect us more. But in terms of talking more specifically about hybrid events, I think the preference now we've settled into, it is a necessity, a human necessity, to be able to be live in person. It's something it just can't be felt by having an online meeting. So from my perspective, we're settling into really we've discovered, or we always have known, right? But everyone else has discovered the value and impact of live events.
It's funny you say that. We just did a research, and we saw that basically the main reason for people to go to and attend events is networking. So is that one of your core findings? Do you do research on live events as such?
We do. Maybe I would use the term community, right? I think these are maybe terms that float around really, but what is, the purpose of an event, from my perspective, would be to make people feel something. And when we get together live in person and we're able to, network, but connect, to really have a connection, and that helps us form community. So it might be, we're meeting each other and maybe we're going to do business together. So that's one element to it. But really where I think what the most value and impact is really to have that connection, to collaborate, have a sharing of ideas, maybe sharing in challenges. that's where I really think meetings are at.
There is a lot of boring meetings going on. There is a research that there is around that we spend approximately 6 years on boring events. So how to move from boring events to transformative events, Melissa?
Yeah. It's a good question. I hate to hear that there are so many boring events out there, but that would mean that we really need to look at
from the school on, so
why we would really have to dive into, what is the purpose of the event and why are we having the event? And I agree that I do think there are events that are on autopilot. Maybe there's organizations that say we do this event every year, so we're doing the event again. Of course, it's upon us as the event producers and planners to really ask those questions from the get-go. What is the purpose of this event, and how we can make events transformative is to go at it from a storytelling and a feeling perspective. How are we going to move people with this event?
So kind of participant-centric, not anymore, brand-centric or whatsoever. Well, another question is, of course, about AI and creativity, of course.
Yes.
Will AI replace our creativity as event planners?
I don't think so. My perspective on it is that it does aid us. It's about empowering us, being more productive. Can an AI produce an event physically? No. Can it aid us? Sure. I think it's not something to be afraid of, because the whole concept behind it is truly to make us more productive so that we can spend more time on creativity.
As usual, our questions go completely off the list. So as you can see, we are already excavating from that one. But we are talking about ILEA as an organization and the mission that you have. And I would love to hear more about what you do. And of course, there's a sub-question of everything that we just mentioned. We are basically talking about event design. Could you address those questions, and how does the ILE actually tackle that?
So overall, what the organization does is bring people together that are specifically, our niche is in the creative event professional. And I think we talked earlier about that word creative. And I think that gets thrown around a lot, that maybe outside of the industry, some would hear that and think maybe frivolous. Oh, creativity, right? But I think it is a necessity to every event, because creativity can be truly the design of the event. It could be thinking about the event differently. It could be approaching the storytelling of the event in a new and unique way. So our organization is really at the cusp of inspiration, and how can we approach events and continue to build on transformative events.
Okay.
Well, for all your members, probably the pitching is one of the most important things. Pitching the creative ideas towards the clients and so on. Can you say a little bit about how this works in America, in the United States? We know how it is in Europe, but maybe just your insight about it, about the pitching scene. Do you invite all the agencies available on the market? How it goes with American corporations and so on? So a background about the pitching, because this is really important for our audience, actually.
Okay, well, I think it really is about developing trust. Developing the trust with the potential client to, I don't want to say sell the dream, but really to walk them through what is the story that you are pitching, that attendees are going to go through from start to finish. What is the experience? What is that story? In the end, what are we trying to make people feel? What is that end goal for that client? I think we could talk about brands, and I love that it's really transformed, where a brand is looking for, and I think it's upon us to help the brand in this area to make an organic experience. That maybe it's less about having them come to an event and it feel forced, or that we're trying to manipulate somebody into feeling something, but more we as the producers and event designers have worked a lot with that client, talked a lot with them. We know their core values, we know who they are, we know how they want to show up, because we would need to know all of the above to really infuse that into their event. So maybe it sounds like our pitching, it may be a bit different, but I think the core is the same.
Would majority of the clients of your association, so the members of your association, are they other associations? Are they other event organizers, or are they predominantly, I don't know, meeting planners that would work predominantly with corporates? Who are your clients?
Yes, so ILEA is made up of, it's an umbrella organization of all those that plan and produce events. So I'd say probably not exactly 50-50, but perhaps 50% are the real event designers and producers, and the other portion would be the vendor partners that help make that happen, from caterers, decorators, entertainers, you name it. And as we approach an event, how we think of it is that is the team to collaborate to put the best product forward. So the event designer may be bringing everybody together. We may be having the big picture idea and know the client best, but we're also tapping into all of our collaborators to put that best product forward.
Because we actually have our Ljubljana Talks, there's a lot of students that listen to it in various faculties and universities as a part of understanding the meetings industry and so forth. How would you describe the trends in the live events industry?
Ooh, that's a good question. Maybe first I will also address, I love to hear that there are a lot of students involved, and one of our initiatives on behalf of ILEA has really been to bring more students in. You can't talk about the future of the event industry and not have the true future of the event industry at the table. They are future staff and teams, our future clients, and our future attendees. And what we've learned from students, college age range, is that they're quite different than us, frankly. And I have loved working with them. I work with many newly out of college newly out of college professionals, and they look at life a lot different than we do. And that's what I love. I like to think that they've really evolved. There may be better versions of us, and that they're very tuned into wellness and what's going on in the world, and really have social responsibility, which I think is an amazing outlook on behalf of a generation. Yeah. So. Love having them at the table, and the trends right now that I would describe, customization, of course. I think having breaks in meetings. This to me is one of the biggest, I don't want to say trends, or what excites me even more is over time, we typically, historically, have crammed whatever we possibly can into a meeting or conference. We've taken the mind frame of, we have everybody together, we need to get the absolute most out of everybody there, right? And the challenge with that is that you cannot create and ideate and collaborate when you have so much information coming at you. To truly be creative and to dream, if you will, you need to have space to do that. And so the big trend that I've seen is, and I know we talk a lot about wellness, but it's not only in having that wellness as a part of the event, but to also space the event out and to have that time for organic connections, to have the time for, maybe I attended a couple sessions and now I need to let that sink in for a little while, rather than attend 20 sessions that day and be sort of overloaded, if you will. So that's one of the big trends that I've seen.
Very interesting. I need to ask you something which is completely off the list, actually. Meetings industry, business events, live events. What is the right name, for our industry?
It's a good question. One of the challenges that we face as an industry is truly how we talk about ourselves. And I know that we all know what we do, and I think the world has caught on to the value and impact of what we do. But an area that I find very challenging is how we refine that and what our narrative is exactly. So you kind of hit the nail on the head of, we all do call it something different, frankly. In our association, it is live events, and I think there's work to be done on really how we synthesize and how we go outside of our industry to talk about what it is that we do.
Very good. Last but not least, from my side, sustainability was a buzzword for the last 10 years, I would say. Now it disappeared. There's almost nobody talking about it. Why that happened, Can you explain this? And of course, what is the state of sustainability of events in the United States from your point of view?
sustainability is it's vital, and I don't believe as an industry we have addressed it. It's a challenge because what we do for a living is temporary events. So it's not easy. It's a hard problem to solve, frankly. And I would agree that usually every decade we come up with something new that is at the forefront, and the sustainability really moving into inclusivity, moving into what we see now, wellness. All of the above, absolutely important because we are evolving as humans in what we need. And to dial back on sustainability, I think we're still perplexed, frankly. There's a lot of strides that we've made, and there's frankly a lot more that we have work to do. But I think it has to be in the fabric of who we are, because if we do continue to go at the level at which we do, live events won't even matter anymore. So we have a huge amount of opportunity to make an impact on Earth. And how we do that, I don't think we've figured that out yet.
Comparing the perception of sustainability in Europe and the US is different.
Yes.
Where would you say that sustainability hits that mutual point at the events or in your organization in terms of what are the focuses for sustainability in the events that your members do?
I'd say the footprint that the event leaves behind, looking at all aspects of the event from a catering perspective. What kind of food are we preparing? Are we looking at plant-based? Are we looking at compostable ware? Are we looking at reusables? Dissecting events, which we do. We do that now, but I guess to your point, I think a lot of it is a box check, and really to have it be at the fabric and core of our event. And I can't wait to hear more about how it's more advanced here in Europe. I have seen
the focus is different.
Okay.
The focus is different. That's why my next question would be around measuring what do you measure and how do you measure. But I think in Europe the main idea when you say sustainability is environmental sustainability. From the experience we have, the US has a lot less of environmental, but more of a social kind of a note. Would you agree with that?
I do. I think that's a fair assessment.
So this would be that difference that perhaps divides the same industry, let's call it the meetings industry as a total, but again, talking with a different meaning to the same words and the same. So do you see that there's a very strong sustainability trend or movement within the live events in the US compared, different to one that we would have in the US, in the EU?
With corporations, yes. I think there are many corporations. I happen to work for one of those corporations that I think is really pushing forward and leading the charge, if you will. And many corporations in the US are. When I look at the overall live event industry as a whole, if the client, frankly, it is based on your client. Because in our world, and I'm not sure if it's like that here as well, producing a sustainable event is often, it's harder, right? It's more challenging, and it could also be more expensive. And so you have to have a client that is willing to be on board with that.
One of my last questions is about your presentation today here at the show. Can you tell us more about what you will talk about so that others will know what they missed actually? Yes, a little bit of that.
Yes, well, actually, I spoke yesterday about associations and the way in which partnerships have evolved within the associations coming out of post-pandemic, and the changes that we've seen and kind of where we're going and how critical it is. I think we could look at the event industry as a whole and the world really and say that partnerships are at the core of it. We are stronger together. So while we all know that we're facing challenging times, I like to say opportunity. I think semantics are everything. We are in a time, we're always going to be in times of challenge. Certainly in the United States, we have our challenges that I'm sure everyone is well aware of, but it's also a time of opportunity. So that was what I was had the pleasure of speaking about. And then tomorrow, the founding president of ILEA, so Dr. Joe Goldblatt, will be joining us and really talking about the evolution of not only ILEA but the event industry. He's written over 40 books about events, including the first book on event management. So he'll be joining us, and we'd love to have everybody by for that.
Joe is our guest on Thursday.
Yes, he's actually coming by.
Looking forward. Yeah. Since your surname leads us a little bit towards our region, I would say, towards the beautiful Adriatic coastline, how you see the potential of our region, let's say so Southeast Europe or Adriatic region, for the American event organizers, from your point of view?
Oh, from my point of view, I think it is somewhat untapped. I think the word and the reputation, phenomenal, beautiful, beautiful region, just amazing people. Creativity abounds. And I think that is just sort of circulating. In fact, I was talking to somebody yesterday about it, and they had said, I've never been to the region, frankly, and I have it on my list. So I think I know for tourism, the area is rather trending, but I think for meetings and events, it's on the cusp of growing even more.
This is a perfect kind of opening to the closing of this Ljubljana Talks, because we usually finish off with a couple of quick questions.
Oh.
You can answer them quickly or slowly or however you want, but let me ask you, the mountains or the sea?
Ooh, sea for sure. I am, it's in my blood, I think. Ocean.
Okay. Movies or books?
Movies. I am a true storyteller. Film is another thing that really moves me. I look at events in the same way that I do films. So for sure, film for me.
Apples or pineapples?
Oh my God, these are challenging. Pineapple. It's, tropical. So.
Melissa, thanks a lot for being our guest.
My
That
pleasure.
was amazing talk, Ljubljana Talk. Once again, thanks.
Yes.
Stay tuned. We are coming back in a few moments.